So I'm going to start out with our resource site on the IT site for Blackboard Ultra courses under Blackboard Help for Faculty. I do have a handout and also some videos that talk about getting started guide for the Grade Center. So we just updated this and we do have some information here. You can look through as I go through things. You can look in your own course. I think the majority of faculty that I'm seeing that have joined today are returning faculty. So you probably have more of copied over content that you're going in and cleaning up. But we're going to give a brief overview of a blank course too. So if we have any new faculty, they can kind of see what it looks like when you first start out in Blackboard Ultra with the gradebook. So with no further ado, we're going to go into our Blackboard environment. And once you create and set your course up, it may look similar to this if you've put in a banner and you put in your modules and you've put in your content or you've copied your content over. If not, then you have a blank course, right? You've created a new course as a new faculty member and you haven't added any content yet. So the first thing you're going to do, of course, is start to add content, but you notice in the top menu here where you have access to the gradebook is going to be empty. So anytime you add a graded assignment, a discussion board question, a journal, assessment test, quiz to your course, it will automatically populate the content into the gradebook for you. So those are the 4 items that will automatically generate columns in the Grade Center. Okay, so when you start adding that content into the course, then it will populate to your gradebook. And you notice here, you can add individual items. So if you want to manually create columns and you're not actually having assignments turned in Blackboard or test, then you can do that. You can add a text item. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a few minutes. And you can also use the attendance feature in Blackboard. It populates to the gradebook with one overall performance column. And it allows students to also track and see their attendance. Of course, you as the instructor do have to select that. So when you first go into your course, whether it's blank or you've copied it, so this is a course where we've copied some content, we have some things in the grade book, some things that you'll see as students start to turn in your assignments, you will get a notification indicator. So this is telling me that I've had 2 assignments turned in that need to be looked at, need to be graded. So when I click on the grade book, I want to make mention to the different tabs here at the top. If we start out, we get an overview tab, right? It tells you how many items are turned in. Remember, I said there were 2 up here in the indicator that needs grading. Lets you go in and grade them now if you want to. It also you can see here that I've graded something and it needs to be posted. Okay, so whenever you see the word post in Blackboard, that means that you need to post for the students to see their grade. They will not see the grade until it is posted, and we're going to see some examples of that. On the gradable items tab, this is a listing view of your assignments and your grade center columns, and you can see here anytime you want to add an item, you can click on the plus symbol and it allows you to add an item, add a text item, a calculation or a total calculation. It allows you to click on the 3 dots and you can edit or delete that item out of your grade center. You can also rearrange how these are listed. So this could be an issue when you copy your content over that things are disorganized and you want them set up by modules where students would see it also in this listing. You can click and the action arrows over here and you can drag and drop your content to where you'd like it to be. Now, something to note is that you can only rearrange the columns or the content on the gradable items tab. So whatever you range on the gradable items tab, it will also rearrange it on the grades tab. So if I click on the grades tab here, Notice this is the spreadsheet view. This is probably what most of you are familiar with. If you use the original courses, this looks a little familiar, but really it's the exact same thing as the gradable items listing, okay? It's just a different view. So you can choose whichever view that you prefer. You can also see here where if a student has submitted a grade, you're going to see that you can post grades here. It's got all of the same features that the grades tab has. I'm going to center on the grades tab today simply because it's easier to look at an overall view of what your grades look like and what students, once they turn in new submissions, also look like for you to come in and grade. So in the grades tab, you have the exact same grade type listing. It's just in the spreadsheet view. Whenever you hover in between, you have the plus symbol here. Remember, plus symbol lets you add content to your course or your grade center. So if I click, I have the same options that I did in my gradable items list view. Something new this semester is the text item. So notice in the plus symbol, we have add text item. So I can change the heading. I could call it anything I want for any assignment. It allows me to click in the cell and type in text. It's up to 32 characters that you can type in for the text. The only lockdown version of this is that you can't provide feedback. You can only provide the word. And of course, it automatically defaults as not available for students to see. You can make that available by clicking on the heading and clicking edit and make visible to students. You can also delete the content and you can do an overall view of the listing. These text item columns are not included in your grade center calculations. So when you automatically create these, they do not get included in the calculation. Okay, so you have the plus symbol to add columns in. You can see here, you can type in text. You can see in this particular course, we've set up our overall grade. When you copy your content over from a previous semester or a new course, you will not see the overall grade tab. You'll need to go in and set that up to do your percentages, points, or advanced calculations. So what I'm going to do is go over here to my settings icon. It looks like this little gear icon over here in the right. You'll notice it's also on the gradable items tab. So we're going to click on this gear icon to look at our settings. This is where you can set up your overall grade calculation. Okay, so we're going to look at that in 1 second. I want to point out though that you can change your grading schemes. So you do have the ability to add new grading schemes if you're doing point values. You can click the add here. You can take away or delete if you're not doing an A plus in your grading scheme. You can delete that column. You can choose your own. So like I said, you can click add and choose points and set that up for your scheme to choose from for students to see in the overall weighted totals. Okay, so grading schemes is something you may want to look at and evaluate. You can set up student performance. You can do it based on percentages for your overall grade. You could say number of days. So if someone hasn't logged into the course, say in 10, 20 days, you can set up alert notification that you'll see in the Grade Center. You can also choose to have it sent to the student's activity stream as a notification automatically if they have not met these parameters. You can assign automatic zeros by default. This is turned off. So if you are interested in using this, you should go into your settings and make sure to turn this on. This will give a 0 in the grade center listing or column for students that missed the due date if you have due dates set up. Overall grade, this is where I mentioned you can click on to set up the overall grade calculations if you're weighting by category or points. We're going to come back to this in a minute to look at it, but something I want to showcase that's new is called item management. When I click on Manage Gradebook Items, this gives me an overall view of my assignments listed in the Grade Center, the due dates, so I can see them all in one location. And I can see here, if you're ever in question about, can the student see this? You can see if it's visible or hidden. And it does give you an area where you can turn instructor visibility on or off. So if you've hidden something from yourself in the Grade Center, you would be able to come in here and turn it back on. You can edit by category. So for instance, if you created all these content areas and you had them in assignment, but you want to create and put them in another category, you now can select them and you can come over here where it says edit category and you can select and put it in the correct category. Okay, so that is a new feature. So that can be done in a batch process now. You don't have to go back to each assignment and do it one by one. You can also click on the three dots here, and you can also change the category to an individual item here. You can do batch visibility for students in the Grade Center column by the edit visibility, and you can say show to students. Okay, so you don't have to choose one by one. Okay, so that is a new feature in the settings icon. You can also set up your own categories through here. So you can see here the basic default ones is assignment, form, test, discussion, journal, exam. You can set up your own to choose from. And this is also where you can create course rubrics to assign to assignments or to add to your feedback in the Grade Center. And you can also use the AI Design Assistant within Blackboard to help you generate a rubric. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here to look at the overall grade. So we're just going to click here to manage overall grade settings. And this is probably one of the most asked questions is how can I set up my overall weighted total based on what you have presented in your syllabus? So if you are doing it by points, you can choose your points calculation here. If you're doing by weighted total, you can choose the weighted tab. Weighted totals have to equal 100%. And then you have the advanced calculation here where you could set up your own values and own calculations. And it actually, you can click on validate to make sure that's calculating properly and there's no error messages. Okay, so we're going to go back and look at the weighted tab calculation because that's probably the one that's most used by faculty. So you can see here, this is everything that I have listed by categories in my Grade Center. So it's automatically, when I assigned it that category, it's telling me that I have 6 items in the category. To see those 6 items, I can click on the down arrow here to see what's listed, right? And so it is automatically putting in 16.66%. Well, I may want this to be 20% of the grade. So right now, I can't click in the box and make any changes. To do that, I'm going to click the lock icon and I'm going to change it to 20%. Notice as I do that, it's going to lock it when I hit the enter tab to save it. And it's going to also tabulate these. Notice they're not equal, right? They're done proportionally because we've selected proportionally. If you were to select equally, then it's going to give each item 3.33%. Okay, well, say you look at your items and you're like, well, I don't want this one to be included in the calculation for this category. You can remove it from the listing or what we call unlink it from that category. To do that, you just click on the unlink symbol here and it removes it from the category. Now, again, so now I had 6 items in there. Now I have 5 because I removed one of the items because I didn't want it part of the calculation. So now assignments is worth 20%. And notice when I remove that because I have equally selected, it's given each item 4%. Now, you can also null out an area where you don't want it part of the calculation at all or doing any of the calculations. So if I know I'm not doing exams, I'm not doing forms, I can click on and null that out. It's going to turn purple, so it's not automatically putting percentages in part of my calculation. So right now I'm over. I'm at 103%, and I need to be at 100% in order for this to save. Okay, so I want to also showcase within the assignment category or any category, you have edit calculation rules. This is where a lot of you like to drop the lowest score, or you can say use only. So if I want to drop the lowest score from this assignment category, I'd click on edit calculation rules. I would enable this feature and I would choose to drop scores. So I can choose the lowest score, highest score, or I can say use only the highest score or the lowest score. So you do have the capability to edit those calculation rules. Okay. So once you go through and you set up your calculations based on your weighted categories and equal 100%, you can come here and you can choose how you want your students to see that overall grade. If you want it presented as a letter grade, points, percentage, or incomplete or complete, or if you've set up your own grading scheme, that would also be in this listing for you to choose from. Okay. This is an important item here because in the beginning, I always say as a best practice, it's a good idea not to show to students till you make sure this is calculated properly because it's based on a running total. So you want to make sure that you have everything set up properly, your categories, before you turn this on for students to see. Okay. So in the points listing, if you're doing points, you'll see the same thing here. You have the items that are assigned by category, and you can null these out. You can unlink them so that they're not part of your total points. Okay, once you have set this up, you're going to hit save, and then your overall weighted category is in your listing for students to see. Okay, so anything that has a slash through it, it's hidden from students. If it does not, then it's available for students to see. So if I want to turn that off, I forgot to do it in the settings, I can click edit here and then just unhide and save so students can't see that. Okay, so if you are in the gradable items listing, you can see here that it's unavailable by the icon. I can click on the three dots and do edit here also to make it available or unavailable. Okay, something else I want to showcase in the grades tab, you have a filter option. This may be important if you've merged your course, like if you have two sections or three sections merged to one Blackboard course. If you've set up groups for each of those sections, it will allow you to filter your gradebook based on group. Okay, so you can search and just grade that one group. You can also search students and you can also search by grade items. You can do it by categories. Okay, so if you need to filter out options and only want to see all the assignments, then you can filter by assignments and then you could just see that to grade in that area. You have the download and upload gradebook options. So download would be downloading as an Excel spreadsheet. And then you can also see as students do submissions, you get something called a new submission. That's in the grades tab. In the gradable items listing, it looks a little different. You'll see like 1 to grade. It doesn't say new submission. Okay, it says how many ever have been turned in by students that you need to grade. All right, so you can see here how the two views are different. You have the Students tab. Students tab allows you to look at an overall grade calculation. It allows you to click on the three dots. You can send a message to the student. You can also set up accommodations. So if you have a student that needs extra time on a test, then you can set up the accommodation here. You can also do it on your roster under the content tab. So there's two ways that you can do this. It will follow all the assignments and tests for the course. So you only have to set this up one time. If I click on a specific student, so let's just click on my preview user here. You can also look at the activity log. So if you're questioning when students have attempted a discussion or a test, you can see here, you can look to see when they logged in. You can download this to a spreadsheet view. Okay, you can see all the times that they've logged in. If you have any internal notes that you need for yourself, only you will see the note here in this area. You can also look at students' progress. Since progress tracking is turned on in the course, you can see that this student for this module has only opened and started certain areas. So I can see that they haven't clicked and looked at this content. It's been unopened. Okay, and if I go back to the grades, it will list all my graded items here for this individual student. Okay, so you're looking at student activity, accommodations, and you can also send a message to the student from the student tab in the gradebook area. So this may be helpful if you have students that say, I attempted this assignment, it didn't go through, does it need to be reset? You can go back and look at the student's activity log to kind of help you determine if the student got locked out. We get a lot of test type questions and attempt questions. And as the instructor, you do have the rights. It's kind of similar to what was in originalist course reports, if any of you remember that. Okay, so again, overview, gradable items, grades, and students are all part of the gradebook. If we go back to grades and say you've created an assignment in Blackboard, we're going to take a quick look at the submission so you can see what that looks like when they attach an assignment back to you or a test. It'll bring up the assignment that was turned in. Whenever a student submits an assignment, they do get a success submission, and they can also download it, sends a notification to their email address that their attempt was submitted successfully. So here we see the Blackboard annotation tool as part of the Blackboard assignment. So you as an instructor, if I click over here on this icon, I can put in feedback, I can click on the plus symbol, I can add attachments back to the students, I can embed media, I can also click on the audio video recording and do audio feedback. If you had a rubric, that would be posted here that you could also grade through the rubric. And then you also have the annotation tools here that you can mark up the individual assignment for the student. And if you click in the submission, you can put in the grade for it to post. It'll turn green, and you can wait till you've graded the entire course if you want to. You can grade by question if you're doing tests or exams. Remember, I said the students can't see the grade until you post the grade. So you can see I've graded here. I'm not going to hit post grade. I'm going to go back to the grade book. So you can see here in this assignment we just graded, it's giving me my overall total, and it's saying that I have an 89% here. The student is not seeing it until I post it. So I can say post in the column heading, which allows me to post the grade. It'll turn green so you know that the students can see it. If I go to student preview, show you what the student sees real quick. Under the gradebook tab, I can see that my grade was posted. I don't see the overall weighted total because I turned that off. It allows me to view my assignment. If I had feedback, this is where I would see it. I can download my original file as the student. Okay, so that's what students see when things are available for them to see. You see, it'll say not graded, like I said, until you hit that post button. Okay, I'm going to exit and save. You also can do this as a student preview and add your preview user and go in and give yourself grades to see what the students are seeing, just as a best practice. Again, the slash icon through means it's not available or visible. And in the gear icon, you can go and do the item management and open these up in a batch process if you don't want to click on the three dots and edit them one by one.